Hi everyone, I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam. We kick things off in Ohio, where a camera keeps watch of a female holding area inside the Montgomery County Jail. Most inmates are here awaiting their first court appearance, including Jessica Boomershine. The 42-year-old was charged with multiple violent crimes, including kidnapping, felonious assault, and aggravated robbery, after she and another person allegedly assaulted and robbed an elderly man inside his home. At first, it looks like Boomershine might be napping with her head resting against the screen of a video monitor. But seconds later, she appears to be up to something. As she stands on an attached stool, the other inmates barely pay her any attention. But after she slides a chair over and climbs on top of the video monitor, she catches the attention of these two inmates, who are completely confused. Then it appears the inmates realize what's going on. Boomershine is trying to skip her court appearance by escaping through the ceiling. The Mission Impossible style escape gets the inmate in this holding cell very excited, though it's unclear whether she's trying to get the guards' attention or is actually cheering on the jailbreak. Either way, the commotion brings officers into the holding area just in time. Ceiling tiles begin raining down from above. Another security camera pans to the right, catching an even better view of Boomershine hanging from a ceiling vent. And below, an officer's attempt at trying to grab her legs makes the situation even more awkward. Boomershine really doesn't want to go to court today, but ultimately the ceiling gives way. She crashes headfirst into a trash can below. Once on the ground, officers place her in handcuffs before she's checked out by medical personnel. Boomershine sustained only minor injuries from the fall, and though her botched getaway allowed her to skip a court appearance that day, escape and vandalism charges were added to her case for when she eventually appeared before a judge. Next, we're in Las Vegas, Nevada for an arraignment hearing.
City versus Joshua Martinez.
Joshua Martinez is representing himself after being charged for driving with a suspended license.
On the charge of having a suspended driver's license on April 12th. What is your plea, sir? Well, you're charged with driving on a suspended, canceled, or revoked driver's license.
Sounds pretty cut and dry. Well, not to Martinez, who apparently wants to dig into the legal details.
Okay, is there a sworn statement against me or injured party?
I believe you probably received a citation on April 12th. That would be the criminal complaint filed against you.
Okay, and is there a injured party or damage to property here?
It's charged brought by the city of Las Vegas, sir.
Okay, so the city's the victim in the case?
The city is the charging.
So they're the victim.
Whatever direction Martinez is trying to take things, Commissioner Ann Elworth is not going there.
What is your plea on
If
the
the
charge,
city
Mr. Martinez? Mr.
if they are
Martinez,
the
today is
victim,
your Mr.
I would
Martinez.
like
I am in
move
charge of
to
this
a
courtroom,
federal
and you're going to stop
We are in charge of the courtroom.
It may be called the People's Court, but the judge is about to show who's actually in charge here.
Marshal, would you show Mr. Martinez the inside of our holding tank, please? You're not going to tell me who's in charge of my courtroom, Mr. Martinez. Go ahead and go with the marshal. It's direct contempt of court.
You are in contempt.
Martinez is temporarily removed from the courtroom. Then, about 20 minutes later, he's brought back in to be sentenced for his newly acquired contempt of court charge.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, since you have informed me that I am in contempt of court and that you are in fact in charge of this courtroom, I'm going to go ahead and sentence you today to direct contempt of court. I will give you an opportunity to apologize if you choose to do so, and behave in a manner that I consider appropriate for a courtroom. Would you like to do that today, Mr. Martinez?
What would I be
It is a
apologizing?
yes or a no question.
What would I be apologizing
For
for?
your direct contempt of court, sir.
All I was asking was legal questions, ma'am.
I disagree, sir. I'm going to ask you the question one more time. Did you wish to apologize and proceed in a manner I consider appropriate in this courtroom or not? Okay. Direct contempt. I'm going to sentence him to 15 days in jail. Okay, thank you.
The Amendment grants me that.
Sir, I would suggest you stop speaking now.
Martinez would be jailed for 15 days for contempt of court. His original charge of driving without a license was later dismissed. We're in the George Layton Criminal Courthouse in Chicago, Illinois. Judge Joseph Claps strolls through the lobby, as he's done plenty of times over his 20-year career. Only today, he dropped something on the floor. Normally, this wouldn't be a big deal. Only the item that Claps drops on the floor is reportedly a loaded satin silver revolver. In Illinois, weapons, even if you're properly licensed, are prohibited inside courthouses, unless you're an officer on duty. Notice how as Claps passes and the revolver falls out of his jacket, which is folded over his arm. With people watching, he reaches down to pick it up, stumbles a bit, then casually puts the object in his pants pocket and walks away. When the judge arrives at the elevators, Claps puts the gun back under his coat and continues with his day. But two other deputies standing by the doors also took notice when Claps dropped his weapon. While they didn't take immediate action, they later report the incident to a lieutenant. Claps, who did have a valid firearm owner's ID card and a concealed carry license, is charged 3 days later with carrying a concealed weapon in a prohibited area, which is a Class B misdemeanor. The judge was placed on administrative duty and faced up to 6 months in jail and a $2,500 fine if convicted. But just 3 months later, and despite eyewitness testimony from the two deputies, he's acquitted of the charge. The court ruled the prosecution had failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the object Claps dropped was actually a firearm. Next, we go to Nassau County, Florida, for an emergency custody hearing held due to tragic circumstances. Andrew Bird and his new wife are asking for custody of Bird's 7-year-old daughter, Nina, who lives with his ex-wife, Tanya Kapalia Eason. The couple's other two children, Nikolai, age 9, and Nehemiah, 8, were killed when Kapalia Eason drove off the road into a utility pole. She'd been drinking at a Halloween party before she loaded 8 children into her vehicle. Kapalia Eason's blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit. The 6 surviving children all sustained injuries, including Nina, who was in the car that evening. Eason will soon stand trial for manslaughter. But today, the decision on who will raise the couple's surviving child is the matter at hand, and it rests with Judge Adrian Sode. First, he hears from a social worker about Kapalia Eason's alcohol consumption the night of the crash.
She had 2 drinks, 2 shots, and 3 or 4 pudding shots prior to getting in the vehicle with the children and driving.
Making matters even worse, before the hearing, Kapalia Eason attempted to attack Bird's character by asking a witness to speak harshly about him.
That witness, according to the department's investigation, indicated to the department that the mother asked that witness to say negative things about the father, but the witness informed the department that the witness was unable to do that in good conscience.
With that, the judge is ready to make his decision.
The father's 2 motions that have been filed, specifically the emergency motion.
Bird is now raising Nina with his new wife in Michigan. Kapalia Eason, meanwhile, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter in the deaths of Nikolai and Nehemiah. She was sentenced to 30 years in a Florida prison and is eligible for release in 2044. We're in Warren, Ohio, where 24-year-old Jason Howard is sitting down for an interview with a local news reporter. He's a suspect in the gruesome murder of his girlfriend and 3 of her children, including his own son, but he denies any involvement.
I mean, I was a protector and a provider for my family, but I wasn't there to protect them and die with them, and I wish I was. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd rather be dead right now, because I want to live long enough to find out who did that. What's in the dark gonna come to the light, and the blind gonna see it.
Though Howard's a suspect in the quadruple homicide, he's actually in the courtroom today being arraigned on a separate murder charge. He's accused of killing a 24-year-old man and shooting at 2 others during a multi-day crime spree. But just moments after the news interview ends, Howard makes his way toward the courtroom exit when all hell breaks loose. the fight by delivering punches over the court divider is Lewis West, the brother of Howard's slain girlfriend. As he's wrangled by a courtroom deputy, the fracas comes to an end. Or doesn't. Another man, cousin of West, pushes a court employee aside before leaping over the divider. Amid the chaos, one court official grabs a chair to protect himself, while deputies struggle to gain control of both men. With the courtroom completely out of control, anyone with a badge begins clearing the courtroom. Both men are eventually cuffed, arrested, and charged with assault. And on their way out of the courtroom, they let the defendant know their fight is far from over. Howard only received minor injuries during the attack. He would later admit to the murder of the 24-year-old man, in addition to other crimes, and was sentenced to life in prison. He was also later charged with a crime that started the courtroom fight, the murder of his girlfriend and 3 children, but that case was dropped due to lack of evidence. The murders remain unsolved. As for the men who started the brawl, their assault charges were later dropped. We've all heard of a judge throwing the book at someone for their crimes, but you're about to see a judge who's throwing a book for a whole different reason. Lawyers and a judge are trying to select a jury, a critical step in ensuring a fair trial. The defendant is Jose Azucena, who's charged with 40 counts of sexual misconduct, including kidnapping and rape of a minor. It's day 2 of jury selection, and Azucena's attorney is interviewing a prospective juror who sits off camera. The judge listens on.
So can you be fair to both sides?
I think I would be biased.
You're off this jury. You didn't say that yesterday.
It looks like the judge has taken issue with a potential juror.
No, listen, what we're not going to have in this jury is people coming in overnight and thinking up and trying to make up now so they can get out of the jury. That's not going to happen, all right? Right? Because if I find that someone said something yesterday under oath and changes it because they're trying to fabricate something to get out of serving on this jury, there's going to be repercussions.
The judge is unsatisfied and demands an explanation.
What's going on here? Tell me what's going on.
I said I had other issues yesterday, and you said you'd get back to me.
All right, so why got issues? Why can't you're saying that you can't be fair and impartial to both sides? You're going to completely throw out our entire justice system because you don't want to be fair and impartial.
Disgusted with the juror, who happens to be a nurse, the judge throws a book, which turns out to be a pocket-sized version of the U.S. Constitution, against the wall. Things are heating up, so attorneys attempt to intervene.
Your Honor, may we approach? Your Honor, you can't approach. You're not going to be fair and impartial.
Like I said, with my nursing history, and I've been involved with child abuse, and I've been involved with incest with young girls that deliver 13 years old. It makes me rather, biased.
Ma'am, you're off this jury. You're off this jury. You're removed. Go home. Right?
The nurse is excused from jury duty, not before the judge gets in one last remark.
I don't like your attitude.
The case against Azucena eventually makes it out where the story ends.
You're saying that you can't be fair and impartial to both sides.
The Nevada Supreme Court overturns the conviction, claiming Judge Scotti created an intimidating environment which tainted the jury panel. Azucena is awarded a new trial and a new judge. Until then, he remained in custody. Although Scotti apologized for the incident, his outburst resulted in ethics charges, courtesy of the Nevada Commission of Judicial Discipline.
You're removed. Go home. Right? I don't like your attitude.
Next, we're at a trial court hearing in Brooklyn, New York. The defendant is 41-year-old John Bunn. 27 years earlier, when he was 14 years old, he and another teen were charged with the murder of an off-duty corrections officer during an attempted robbery. Both Bunn and his co-defendant, Roshan Hargrove, maintained their innocence, and both were convicted. Hargrove receiving 30 to life, and Bunn, a juvenile, getting 9 to life. Bunn would spend the next 17 years in prison. Now, 10 years after his release, he's back in the courtroom to handle some unfinished business. In Brooklyn, New York, where John Bunn, who spent 17 years in prison, is about to find out if the district attorney will retry his case, or if he'll, decades later, effectively get his name cleared once and for all.
I want y'all to know that y'all convicted and had a wrong man in prison.
John Bunn is right. 2 years before this hearing, the New York Supreme Court threw out he and his co-defendants' murder convictions. Turns out the lead NYPD detective on his case, Louis Scarcella, was accused of engaging in corrupt police work throughout his career. But an overturned conviction doesn't mean Bunn has been fully exonerated. He now waits to hear if the district attorney plans to retry his case.
At this time, the people do move to dismiss the indictment.
After spending 17 years in prison and another 10 years fighting to clear his name, Bunn breaks down.
I want to say thank you, Your Honor, because it's been 27 years I've been fighting for my life.
Bunn would later settle a $4 million lawsuit against the state of New York for his wrongful conviction. His co-defendant, Roshan Hargrove, was also exonerated. Next, we head to Johnson County Circuit Court in Paintsville, Kentucky. That's 26-year-old after his arraignment. He's been charged with 2 counts of second-degree assault. And that bailiff on the move, that's Don Webb. He's 70, and this Vietnam vet is now on a mission to restore order. As a third bailiff makes his way over to help, there's Webb, right in the middle of the action. Webb makes his move, attempting to put Hall in a headlock. As the scuffle continues, Hall refuses to give up. That's when one of the bailiffs grabs Hall's shackles to gain control. The 3 men are unable to get Hall under control, but attorneys jump in to help them finish the job. As for Hall, he's hit with 3 additional charges of third-degree assault and resisting arrest. As for Don Webb and the 2 other bailiffs, they were treated for minor injuries. That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.